How's it going, guys? My name is Voss, and if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Dodge seems to be a very popular request on my channel. We did the Challenger GT all-wheel drive. Great vehicle. Go check that out. Hopefully I have the HellCat edited up if I quit being lazy, so that should be up soon. And now we're in, let's say you don't need 707 horsepower, and you still want to have fun, you still want to go fast, and you want to shift your own gears. You can get the 2019 Challenger RT, and that's what we're in today, and we're going to take it out for a drive and see how it does. So let's get to it. All right, guys, well, we're in the, like I was saying earlier, the 2019 Challenger RT, and this thing is nice. I mean, one of my favorite aspects that Dodge has always done is stay true to that muscle car vibe. You know, when these came out, these came back out in 08, I believe, and then the SRTs, you know, they had a really good muscle car look while having newer features, and then they've just progressed them. And then in 15, I believe, when they refreshed them with the HellCats, it just, I mean, the looks were great, the performance was great, the value was really good, and now we're a few years in. Now you can get a 19, this is a 2019 RT. This really is appealing for somebody that doesn't need the HellCat, or they don't have $60,000+. You know, the base price on this guy is $34,200 something, and with some of the options, like the performance options, we'll get into those in a second, you can get this car a little bit under $40,000, and there's a whole lot of car here. You still have 375 horsepower, you still have 410 or higher foot-pounds of torque, and then you pair it with a 6-speed manual, which personally is the best way to get this. You can't get these cars in dual clutch, so there's really no point in getting an automatic. You may as well get the manual and have some fun. So let's see how it does. So the paint on this is called Octane Red, and personally it looks really good. When you see it in person, there's a lot of maroon burgundy to it with a nice metallic flake. Overall, it pops real well. I like it. It's subtle, but you know, you can tell it adds that good look to it. And then on top of that, there's some more features on this one with some SRT stuff, like the front splitters, like the SRT splitter. The wheels are 20-inch wheels that were the older HellCat wheels, paired with Pirelli P0s, and they're 275s all the way around. So pretty good. I've driven this just a hair. It does hook pretty well. Overall, grip feels pretty good. It doesn't feel like the back end's going to give out unless I like want it to deliberately to have some fun. And like I said, overall, a lot of good stuff like that. With the RT, I reviewed that Challenger GT, and there was a lot more creature comforts, like heated steering wheel, and the infotainment was a little bit upgraded, and the seats were leather. With this, it's really all about the performance. Everything in here, you can option the other ones, but the best thing to get is the performance options, where you get 20-inch, or you get the Brembo 4-piston brakes, and they got the red paint, which they charge you $500 to paint them red, but whatever. But overall, they add a really good look to this to make this thing look really aggressive. It works really well with the Octane Red. You do get the optional front banana peels, but I believe the owner has chose to remove those in this car. So overall, like I said, very good. Inside, in the interior, like I said, one thing I'm noticing off the back is these seats definitely hug really well from the neck down all the way to your torso and your bottom. They have a really good feel to them. I feel very planted when I'm in them, so that's really good. If you're taking turns aggressively or trying to get the best out of what this car can do, I don't feel like it's going to give out and I'm going to slide around. I feel very composed in the seat, so that's a good feel. But inside, like I said, mostly all the money in this car really goes towards the performance. You can get an optional 8.4-inch infotainment, but you still get the 7-inch in here, and there's still some Android Auto and stuff like that, so there's a lot of creature comforts that are still available. So I'm gonna quit rambling. Like I said, let's get this 6-speed out and let's go for a drive. Something that kind of bothers me, and I wish a lot of manufacturers are doing this, I just want a handbrake that I can like just pull down. I don't want a lever or something I have to press, but whatever. That's not gonna be a deal breaker. Like I said, 6-speed manual. This thing's got enough torque low end, you really don't need to give it a whole lot of gas to get it going. When I drove the HellCat, Granted, you know, you're trying to plant 707 horsepower to the ground. That was a heavy clutch. Like when I got done driving that and got in my M3, I felt like I was just gonna press through my floorboard. And here, the clutch is a lot easier to drive in comparison to the HellCat, but it's still a lot of fun. It's still heavy. It's heavier than the M3 for sure. Listen to that grunt. This thing's got just a good, it sounds good. It sounds like a muscle car. I mean, overall, like I said, very, very impressive. That torque, that about 410 foot-pounds of torque, comes on at about 4,300 RPMs, and it's got a lot of pickup to it. It feels good. And I was riding passenger in this car a little while back, and something I can say right off the back is when you're riding in this car versus driving it, it feels a lot more aggressive. But even then, this is plenty of fun. You can shift it pretty well. And like I said, brakes, really touchy. They feel really great. Steering feels really tight as well. It's very composed. I really am enjoying these seats for what it is. This thing just goes. It feels so much more planted to the ground. When I drove the GT, something I did notice is, you know, with a little bit of turning here and there, I could feel the body roll. I really could. With performance being the, you know, the goal in this car, you can tell it really does a good job planting to the ground. And those brakes, man, they just come right on. And if you don't want to be a hooligan and you just want to drive around, you can do that as well, but that's no fun. And I probably left this out, but the rated city and highway MPG on this car is like 1823. But let's be honest, I mean, you're gonna get 18 when you drive this like a Corolla. You're not getting 18 miles a gallon for having fun with it. God, it's easy to drive. It really is. It's not as scary to drive or as intimidating to drive at first as the HellCat is. When I first got on the HellCat, I just was a little bit nervous I was going to screw something up. And I don't know if that was because that was my first time driving a HellCat, but in the RT, it's still just as fun. I mean, you still have, you know, over 400 foot-pounds of torque. That is still a lot of power. Even in today's standards, you can do a lot of damage with that. And overall, it is just a blast to drive. So, you know, I've been in this car a little bit now, and overall, like I said, super fun. A couple things I want to talk about that are different, and it's just like, kind of like a head scratcher. It's like, why was that left out or why not, is, like I said, this has the 7-inch infotainment. There's also an optional 8.4-inch. However, when you get the performance stuff, like for example with traction, you can't fully turn traction off without going into the performance pages found in the upgraded infotainment screen. So it's like, you bought the performance pack and then you can't use some of the features it has. So you can turn traction off partially, but you can't fully turn it off like you could in the GT. Another thing that's wildly different, or not wildly, but another feature I'm just kind of like, you know, why was this left out, is in the GT, again, these cars are really long and they have a pretty heavy blind spot. Like when I turn my eyes here, I can hardly see what's back there. It would have been nice to have a blind spot assist, some form of monitoring when you're changing lanes or whatnot. This is a long, big car. So, I mean, you have the power to get out of any sticky situations, but it would have been nice for them to include that in there. So I think so far, I've driven the GT all-wheel drive, I've driven the HellCat. This really does a great job fitting in between. For that person that just really wants something more sporty, more like for performance, but doesn't really need a HellCat. Like, you don't need to put all that power down. And you do lose some of the creature comforts in the GT. They're all options in this car, and some of the problems that you run into is when you start doing that, by the time I option like the blind spot or the infotainment or the other stuff, if I start optioning them, you're looking at, you know, almost mid-40s for this car. And then it's like, well, now I've jumped into Scat Pack territory, so I'd almost be more hesitant to get this and compared to that because of those reasons. But overall, I mean, at a base price of $34,000, if you just want the performance stuff and you get yourself right under 40 grand, there's a lot of car here. And it looks great, it's aggressive, it sounds mean. This does have an active exhaust, and when you put it in sport mode, there are valves that open. I don't know where they are along the exhaust, but it does sound pretty good. So overall, very impressive. And the brakes. I mean, these brakes are great. They do such a good job. I think it's dumb that they charge you $500 to paint them red when you can just get... other than that, they're pretty awesome. It just throws you back in your seat. All right, guys, we're coming towards the end of this review. I hope you enjoyed. Like I was saying, I'm not doing like a full breakdown of every feature this car's got. I just want to give you what makes it fun, what makes it kind of irritable for a daily basis if you were to drive this every day. Overall, this is a great car. It's super fun. Something I can notice is, like, you know, I'm coming from an M3, a little more horsepower, less torque, but handling is where that car like that shines. Even though this is big and you can tell it's pretty big, the body roll is not that bad, much less. It's more planted. It feels a lot flatter. It feels like it's more composed than the GT for sure. And overall, it handles a lot better than you would expect for the size. And I think my favorite part so far about this car is, on top of the performance, is, like, you know, in first gear, that first gear to second gear is just my favorite. Oh, that was a good one. It's such a visceral driving experience. I love it. That's gonna wrap up this video. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe, turn that notification bell on. Please comment below what other cars you'd like to see on the channel. We have a lot of stuff coming up. I took a little break. I had some stuff to get done. I was working on a master's degree. That's over now. We're gonna have a lot more time for car stuff. Hopefully we can get a lot of cool content in before Ohio changes its mind and it's like -15 degrees outside. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.